It gives me special pleasure to record this presentation in the Elton J. Bruins Library at the Raalte Institute of Hope College. It is a distinct honor to present this Distinguished Alumni Award citation posthumously to Dr. Elton J. Bruins. His association with Hope College goes back to 1946, when he enrolled in the college shortly after his discharge from the Navy. Elton was on campus either part or all of the last 8 decades, either as a student or a faculty member or an active retiree. In 1950, Elton earned a BA degree from Hope College, magna cum laude, and in 1953, a BD degree from Western Theological Seminary, along with Henry J. Paul Senior Excellence Award. He went on to earn an STM degree in 1957 from Union Seminary, and in 1962 a PhD in the history of education at New York University. While in graduate school, he began his service as minister of the Reformed Church in America. He left parish ministry in 1966 when he joined the faculty of Hope College as assistant professor of religion. Elton moved rapidly through the ranks to professor by 1970 and was honored in 1981 with appointment as the first Everett J. and Hattie E. Bleckink Professor of Religion, a position he held until his retirement in 1992. He chaired the department from 1977 to 1984, when he was appointed Dean for Arts and Humanities. He also served as acting provost in fall 1989 while I was on sabbatical. In January 1994, Elton came out of retirement to become the founding director of the A.C. Van Raalte Institute. He served in this role until June 2002, and in January 2004, he was named the Philip Phelps Jr. Research Professor. He was also honored with a Festschrift in 2007, a goodly heritage, essays in honor of the Reverend Dr. Elton J. Bruins at 80, for which I was the editor. A consummate scholar and archivist, Elton accumulated a vast amount of historical material. The Van Raalte Institute has numerous filing cabinets that he filled during his decades of research. His files on Van Raalte, founder of Holland and co-founder of Hope College, alone total several thousand. Elton is the author or editor of 15 books, including Envisioning Hope College, letters written by Albertus C. Van Raalte to Philip Phelps Jr., 1857 to 1875, Albertus and Christina, the Van Raalte Family Homes and Roots, and The Americanization of a Congregation, a history of Third Reformed Church. Elton's final publication was a list of notable Hope College alumni in Appendix 7 of Hope College at 150, Anchored in Faith, Educating for Leadership and Service in a Global Society, by me and others. Elton Bruins entered into eternity on March 23, 2020, at age 92. His outstanding service to Hope College, his contributions to scholarship, and his faithful service to church and society make him worthy to be counted among our notable alumni.
David, I'm reflecting on your father's long career. As you know, David, we talk at Hope, we talk about our graduates being people who are anchored in hope, and then people who go out to be agents of hope. How did your father display that to you? Where did you see that? And do you have any specific examples of where you look at your dad's life and say he was an anchor of hope in this way?
Well, I think he, lived the way he lived his life. He led by example, doing the work that he did in things like historical preservation and in, say, like getting the Van Raalte Institute established. It took a lot of time and effort, but he was able to, he worked with other people, and he worked with, the school to get the institution up and operating, getting the joint archives up and operating. This was all, it was a matter of vision and just having the patience and the persistence to get it all done. And I think that's really, the monument to which the values in which that you're discussing. I think that's really, what he did and how he did it. So
that's even better than a story. It permeates everything, permeates the whole life. The whole story is a story of being.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He wanted to be a college professor, and that it worked out to be at Hope was something that he was always very happy about. It was where he wanted to be, and he had the great ability, and it just something I didn't really appreciate till much later in my life. He got to do so many of the things he wanted to do. He was a minister, he was a college professor, he worked in admin, and he got to be an historian and engage in historical preservation.
Well, good afternoon. It's an honor to be with you, Elaine and Mary, as we honor your father and your husband. He's had a remarkable career and did so much to impact Hope College and our community, and I'm excited to talk about all of that. Why don't we start with, as you reflect on his career, what do you think he was most proud of? Or maybe another way to phrase it is, what are you most proud of as you reflect on your husband's career?
Well, he was, I think, most proud of the Raalte Institute, which he was the founding director of, and hung in there really until he just simply couldn't go anymore.
Mary, how about you? What stands out to you when you think about your dad's career?
Well, he loved his teaching years, very much so, and to transition into more executive, leadership roles there for a few years was really, I think he did some heart searching on that about whether that was the right place for him, because he worried or was concerned about the fact that if he moved out of the classroom, that he would no longer be fulfilling a mission to minister to students as he did. And I guess my response at the time was, Dad, you just get to minister to everybody then, rather than just the kids who choose to have your class. And I can remember he kind of went, oh, and he took the job. So students were, I think he made a really big impact on a lot of them. When he did pass away last year, we were both so surprised at how many of his former students we heard from. It was amazing, and a lot of stories that we had never heard. It just was really reflective of, he loved his students, and that's why he got the education he did, so that he could come back, and of all wonderful places to teach, he came back to Hope.
And touched so many lives, and obviously they reflected on it years later that they were still impacted by his work.
It seems so very much, and that was really touching during COVID when we couldn't see people in person, but in a way it was better because people then wrote what being, going down a receiving line kind of thing would not have allowed them to say.
Yes, that's very cool. That's very cool. Elaine, as you reflect back on his time at Hope as a student, what do you think it was about his time here and his education at Hope that put him on the path to have so much success and so much impact?
I'm sure he had a call to ministry. He, being the eldest son of the family, was to take over the farm. And this farm had been purchased in the 1800s, 1846 or so, and had stayed in the family and is still in the family. So it was very important that the son take over. Well, he early on decided that he wasn't to be a farmer and wanted to go to college. It was here, I think, at Hope that he decided not just pastoral ministry, but he wanted to teach. Well, he had a love of history, which he inherited from his father. He became very interested in Raalte and Hope, of course, and then eventually in Holland. In fact, he rummaged around at the site of the Raalte house, which was dilapidated at that point. And for years, we had a brick from the Raalte house, which we used as a doorstop. And as far as I know, that's in the Joint Archives here.
Oh, wow. That's remarkable. We're grateful that he decided to come to Hope as opposed to the path of being a farmer, and that during his time at Hope, he really discerned what he felt called to do.
Being at the Institute, he could live and breathe Raalte and Hope and Holland every day.
And here he grew human souls as opposed to growing crops on a farm.
Yeah, right. Good way to put
Mary, as you reflect on your dad, what lessons stand out, lessons that your dad taught you?
Probably the longest one, and I probably didn't listen to it as early in life as I should have, was probably be patient and be kind. I really can only remember 1 or 2 times growing up that he yelled at me, and I knew, well, if he was yelling, yeah, I guess I better rethink my strategy. Patience and kindness are, I believe, and I think he believed, was a mission on its own, and kind of missionary work. Don't know how it's going to turn out. You'll probably never know. I can't ever remember an instance where he wasn't patient or kind.
I don't remember him yelling at you.
Oh, I remember it very distinctly because they stood out.
I love the lesson of patience and kindness. Our world certainly needs more patience and kindness right now, and I love your vernacular that patience and kindness can be mission work. That's beautifully said, beautifully articulated. Thank you. And it strikes me as you're talking, and Elaine, hearing your story of when he decided to come to Hope, that there were many moments that took quiet courage on his part. To come to college itself was an act of bravery when it was not built into his family that that's the path.
I don't believe, as the story goes, that, and Mom had said too, that he was not really supported at home to do that, and to go that far. He was the first one in his family to go to college. He had a couple of his siblings who finished with 8th grade. Grew up during the Depression when things were hard, so for him to kind of go out of here and go do something else, and not only just Milwaukee, he went to the East Coast and did those things. In his quiet, unassuming way, he just went and did those things.
After high school was in the summer of '45, he enlisted in the Navy. And almost immediately after that, the war ended, so it was a one-year commitment, not to the end of the war, which gave him the 4 years of GI Bill. There was no question that this was what he was to do.
Well, and the funny thing about choosing the Navy is he had never learned to swim. So 6 weeks of basic training were more than a little bit rough for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, he remembered the person in charge saying finally, "Oh, haul him out."
Well, because they threw him in the pool and couldn't swim, and so they gave him a chance to float to the top and get himself over, and apparently that wasn't going well. So, great embarrassment, and he always kind of was very sheepish when that story came out. But again, a testament to this is what he wanted so badly,
Very definitely.
that he was ready. He would do what it would take.
Determined to be successful.
Very
and to
determined.
Find a way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, we are very grateful for and proud of the work that Elton did. So thank you, and thanks for the chance to celebrate his work and his legacy together.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Well, we are incredibly grateful for and proud of the work that your husband and your dad did and his lasting legacy and impact on our campus and our community. So it's my honor to present to you with his 2020 Distinguished Alumni Award.
Thank you very much. It's beautiful.
Very lovely. Oh, God,
Very
it's
lovely.
beautiful. He would like.
Yes.
He would like.